What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to the channel ANDERZÉN. I hope you're excited because today we are changing the game on the C55. This is a project that I've had in the works for months. Special thank you to the Kangaroos Team and Yellowspeed for helping make this happen. We have some very important pieces from them that I'll show you now that'll reveal what we're trying to do here. Number one, thank you Yellowspeed Racing. It's been a long time since we established a relationship. It's been months actually, but they are now a sponsor of the C55. And we've been working on this idea for months, like I said, behind the scenes. This is a standard W203 coilover kit from them, which is 14K rear and 7K front. But we are doing something significantly different based off of this kit with some things of my own that I came up with. Second piece in line, also from Yellowspeed. These are some linear springs that were custom made for this project. These are 14K, and these, which will reveal what we're doing, are going to be for the front. If you know these cars, you know the front springs do not look like this. And they don't have these top mounts. So we'll get to that in a second. But 14K fronts, linear spring. It's, you know, regular style, not the honeycomb or the beehive style like you see typically on the McPherson Strut. We are moving away from the McPherson Strut, which brings us to these. Now, this beautiful, magical piece right here is from the Kangaroos Team. You guys know them well from our E420 manual swap project, and they're definitely going to be a team player for the channel going forward for lots of different things, I feel like. But this one in particular was a project that I reached out to them for, and they basically whipped these up with some measurements that I sent over in like a week's time and sent them over. So huge shout out to the Kangaroos Team. This is a pivotal piece for making all of this possible. Otherwise I would have been, you know, freestyling it pretty much. So this is huge. This is basically a fully adjustable camber plate that's going to allow us to use the stock kind of locations of this star pattern on top. We'll have to do some drilling, obviously. There's no getting around that. But so seeing the piece is great, but I'm sure you guys want to see what it looks like when you put these all together. So let me show you that, and you'll probably get a lot more excited. All right, guys, now how do you feel? I was so excited the first time I put this together. I'm telling you guys, it's been months of trying to figure out what's gonna work and how to piece this all together. But I'm so glad that I went down this kind of rabbit hole and adventure, because this is gonna allow for a lot more flexibility up front as far as camber and all those adjustments. It allows for a better spring rate to use, or to be in use, so we can combine 14K front and 14K rear. And just overall, I mean, it's just cleaner in my opinion. I know that some people will lose their minds that I'm going to cut into the strut towers, but honestly, we're gonna take our time and measure things twice and thrice and make sure it's right before we do anything. So I'm confident we can get it done and not have to worry about anything. And I've had a few people that I've spoken with that have done, you know, a similar thing to this, so I'm not worried about it holding up or anything like that. As long as we do this right, we're gonna be good. So let me show you guys what's going on here. So number one, we have the base strut that is for the W203 kit, like I said, from Yellowspeed. Everything basically below this is exactly how it would have come with the standard kit. However, normally you would have a spring like this. Okay, so this would sit up here. You would have a McPherson style strut tower. It's basically like a, I mean, kind of like, imagine a rubber and metal one of these that sits over here, and then you have the top locking clasp that goes over all of that. We ditched that entire setup, obviously, And now it's the linear spring. It's sitting on the stock collars. Then we moved up to this custom sized kind of rubber isolator, and then a custom size top hat. These are 62.5 millimeter ID springs, and then the top borehole is 14 millimeter. And then little piece that I added right here, I'll show you guys the one that's off. This is to allow the proper movement of the camber plate itself, because this thing is on a ball joint, so you can see it will rotate around, and we needed that extra clearance right there so that this doesn't bottom out on the top spring. You can go, I mean, you can play with this size, but this is just what we ended up with. This is the easy go-to bearing that I found that fit. So that's what it looks like as such. And then the top will just get locked down with the nut that we take off of the stock strut. All right, guys, so the plan is basically, I'm not gonna finish this all in one day, obviously, so I'm gonna try to get this pulled out today, or get these pulled out today, and then we can start kind of playing around with what it looks like fitting those up. Obviously, this gentleman is gonna be helping me as we're going. Yeah, we'll just take it little by little. That's why we moved spots around again, so C55 is in the middle spot, and don't have to try to finish this all in one go, obviously. So rears are just standard. Those will not be anything different from normal coilovers on a W203. So we'll get to those when we do, but obviously we got a lot to tackle up front first. All right, guys, I'm not gonna cover everything as we're getting there, just because a lot of the stuff you can find already online and stuff, but we are just breaking things down slowly. To remove these, you'll need to get the sway bar link out. You need a Allen head on this side, and then a 18 millimeter nut. Take those off, and pretty much the same as what you guys will see in the E420 suspension video. Bolt going across here. Looks like it's an inverted Torx head on this side. We'll see what size they are later, and then 2 on the back. And after that, you'll take the nut off on top here. And the good thing about this is I don't have to mess with any spring compressors or anything like that for this, which I always dislike. So it's one good thing about changing out to these. So yeah, I'll little by little update you guys, but not gonna cover everything, like I said, obviously. Okay, we got one side being worked out right now. Just undid the top nut. Caught on something? Oh, it's coming. Oh yeah. All right. One side out. The top one, I think it's like a 21 millimeter or 22, but we just use standard. I think it was 7/8. And then these are 18 millimeter nuts. The inside, we couldn't tell. It looks like a Torx almost, but none of the Torx we had fit it. So Mike used a 4 millimeter or 4.5 millimeter Allen wrench, and my side took a 5 millimeter. So I don't know. The bottom ones, were the bottom ones the same size, 7/8, or they're probably
these?
Yeah.
I don't remember what they were.
Might be like 18s or something. I'll tell you guys once I do my side, but yeah, this took a while to get off the little sway bar and link, and after that should be pretty straightforward. All right, guys, we've been kind of talking over and thinking about what is going to work best. We're going to try to drill out one of the spot welds right now. From looking at a few people that have done this, some people have drilled like, looks like these holes out entirely, so we might have to try that. Might be easier to cut through than drilling out the spot welds, but it's hard to tell looking at the cups underneath like what exactly comes out with what, because there's like the inner cup and then there's this outer piece, but just got to start and see what happens, I guess. All right, guys, important step to document. Looks different. Where's the cuppy thing? Oh, there it is. So we drilled out all the spot welds for this. And here's what it looks like underneath now. Go. So that is what we're working with. Next step is figuring out where everything is going to sit exactly. All right, here's what we're sitting with. I don't know what the next steps are, but little by little, we just grinded out this. Actually, all of this process didn't take entirely too long. So we were measuring, looks like across this gap is 3 1/4. And then we'll figure this out as well. And I guess, like, most importantly, if we can get both of the camber plates to sit exactly in the same spots, like where we drill our holes for them to go through, then keep it in line, then we should be okay. But we'll be measuring a lot to make sure. All right, guys, well, it's kind of a surreal moment. I've been thinking about this for months, so to have it this far along pretty quickly, I'm pretty happy. Next thing is going to be finding out what shims we'll need. So I'm probably just going to go to the hardware store. I'm going to need longer bolts for it to go through the actual plate, and then I'll need to figure out like the depth of this and these ones to make sure we can get the plate to sit as flush as possible. It sits pretty close to flush, but just based off of the inner edge. But we'll definitely need to kind of play around with different sizes inside of here to get it perfect. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Don't really know what to say right now. I'm just like trying to do stuff and do what we can. So we'll go from there. All right, guys, the next day, went to the hardware store earlier, picked up a bunch of stuff, trying to use with this. We have drilled 3 holes, or actually 2. The one that was already there was from the strut tower bar I had before. And yeah, we're just taking our time eyeballing precisely and trying to get these drilled out. So little by little. What's going on, you guys? Not sure exactly where we left off in the video, but the other night I was like heat stroke or dehydrated or something. I started feeling woozy and headache all of a sudden out of nowhere when we were working on the car, so I just paused it. Came back today. Hydrate. It's been super hot. It was super hot in the garage, so I think I just exhausted myself. Anyways, we are here, back, messing around with this thing. It's very close to fitting the actual plate, but it's not quite there. So let me show you guys what we need to do, I think. All right, so first off, we have our holes drilled that we are going to use for the plate. These other ones, I don't know if I mentioned already, but we technically did not have to drill all the way through these, so this is something that I might go back and fill up later on, like weld them back solid. It's not going to change anything structurally, but you know, less holes look a little nicer. So yeah, these ones though are the ones that we're going to use for the actual mounting points. It's very close, but not quite there. It lines up with 1, 2, 3, 4, almost 5, and almost 6. But the other thing is this has to come from the bottom, so it's changing the angle, you know, quite a bit, going, you know, from this side versus on top. So I think I need to notch like 2 of these. I think I need to notch these top 2 a little bit. Now, I don't want to notch all of them because then that kind of takes away from it staying in place. So if I can keep these 3 over here, you know, exactly the same bore as the bolts that are going through them, we're in good shape. And then I just need to kind of like flare these out, you know, only one way. So slot them. I'm not trying to open the hole anymore, but just slot them so this has a little bit of room to move. The other thing, these bolts are obviously longer than what I need, but I just got longer than what I need so that I could play around with different bushing sizes underneath, because in order to get this exactly flush, I'm going to have to, you know, put a little bit of spacers on a few sides of this. So I do have a lot of different bolt sizes. I got a bunch of hardware over here from the hardware store that we can use. So these are the size that came with this kit that Kangaroos Team included, you know, not knowing what we were going to need exactly. So they just use whatever hardware. But these are a little bit longer than those. Then I have these, which are, you know, a few millimeters longer than that. And then I have a couple extra long ones. But I try to get 12 of each. So whatever I figure out, you know, ends up working, I can use on both sides. And then the spacers that I've been playing around with are these. These are, I always use these because the hardware store because they're easy to find and they're a good size. These are locking collars, but if you just take out the little Allen, then it's basically just like, you know, a bushing of whatever size you get. So I got a bunch of those as well. I'll need to go back and get more because they only had, you know, like 6 or 7 when I was at the hardware store, but I can find these easily at the other ones. And then playing around with like washers and those, I can size out pretty good. And this way the, you know, bushings are the exact size as the bolt. And if those don't work, then we got a bunch of different size nuts and jam nuts and stuff that will give us, you know, a little bit of wiggle room on our bushing sizes. So yeah, we got some playing around to do, but first I need to be able to get this thing to fit in the holes. All right guys, so right now I have 3 of these situated. Show you guys from the top. So this one, well actually 4. These 2 are very solid. They're exactly the same size as the bore holes. This one is just barely wider than I guess the bore of the bolt, but that came through. I can file this side down a tiny bit to make the bolt kind of go through a little bit easier, but it's sitting where it's going to need to, but it just doesn't have the bushings right now. So if you can see from, this is the passenger side, outer fender side. This side sits flush on this kind of base of the strut, but this side does not. So this is the side that we're gonna need to, if you can see in there, I don't know if you guys will be able to, almost, yeah. Let me put that so it'll be able to, so you can see in there, that's basically where the bolt is going through, there it is. So we need about that much of a bushing where the bolt is, so that the mount is sitting flush on that side. So this is actually helpful for me to see as well. It's going to be a little disorienting for you guys, but this is nice to be able to see. So it looks like a little bit more than the bushings that I have here, because when I was playing around with these a couple of these in different locations made it fit like pretty snug. So that's the next step right now, is after I get these to all sit in here nicely, then I'm going to start playing around with what bushings it needs. All right guys, we have 5 out of 6 bolts located. This one, you can tell, I mean, it looks pretty straight actually, like looking down in it, but it's a little off, just like the angle of it. So I think I'm gonna need to flare it out this way, but I guess I'll test it out and see. But we're pretty good. I mean, if I can get, you know, these 4 to be situated pretty tightly. This one is obviously, the bore is a little bit bigger on the hole, so I need that one to not be the one to kind of set the point of restraint. But if I can get at least 4 or 5 of them possibly to be tight fitting, then I'm in good shape as far as that fitment goes. And then it's just coming down to the bushings on the bottom. All right guys, so good news, making progress. All of these are situated. The mount is very solid. However, I'll let you guys listen. If I check the bushings that I'm using, even though the clearances seemed very close, I don't know if you're gonna be able to hear that one. The bushings still spin a tiny bit. So it's almost like I put one of the bigger spacers on them and one of the small washers, so it's almost like they might need one more washer on these 3. I think this one and this one are pretty much Okay, quick update, little by little. Going through, I got all 6 holes now fitting nicely. I have one small bushing and one big washer on each of these right now, and I'm just trying to get these flush. I kind of like reversed back because I had a bunch of washers sitting and I was trying to get them even, and then I ended up just feel like I'm going too far. So I wanted to revert back, take everything off, see how level it is, and now I'm just going back over again and starting with these two because these are kind of our base points right here. So if I can get this to sit level where this mount is not moving, then I can start building, you know, the rest of the spacers out that I'm going to need for these ones. So I'm basically locked in. I got one big washer on each and one one small spacer on each. So now I know those two are where they should be. Now I'm going to start playing around with these other 4. All right, guys, we are super close. I think the only 2 that need a little more spacer is these 2, or are these 2. Just a tiny bit, like one of either the smaller washers or one bigger washer to replace the small washer. So we'll see. I'm so close. Everything else is fitting up really nicely. I'm happy with this bolt size. I don't think it's going to be an issue. I take that back. It's going to be an issue. So I think most likely the hood might interfere on that. I guess I could double check, but that's okay. I can always shorten down these bolts. So let's see how it goes. All right, guys, after a lot of trial and error, we finally have everything fitted up nicely. All of the washers are no movement. Sitting nice. Everything tightened down really well. I can use shorter bolts, but these do clear the hood actually. So I don't know if I'll end up using them. I have a little bit shorter ones in there I can use if I want. But yeah, this is a crazy process, and I mean, it's scary. I'm not going to lie. It's kind of no going back from here unless you want to weld back in the thing that you drilled out, which, you know, we could do if we needed to. So it's not the end of the world, but I want to get this done. So trying to go at it little by little, get this side done first so I know how to replicate it properly on that side and hopefully save a little bit of time. I think we're low-key ready for test fitting the shock or the strut, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, I think so. A little bit of good news as well. I was just checking this, and we have all the way to the end. So that's why we have the 3 holes on here, so we can use the last 2. And yeah, we have full adjustability. Pretty sure the stem won't get in the way at the top there, but yeah, even so, like right there is plenty good. I don't know where we're going to end up exactly as far as camber goes with alignment, but that's just good that, you know, we don't need to dig into this any more than we already have. So all right, this is a video for my mental memory and for you guys watching. So we're sitting on the passenger side right now. This is how this is sitting in the car. We have a spacer and a small washer. We have big washer and a spacer, big washer and a spacer, big washer and a spacer, spacer, no washer, and big washer and a spacer. So that was the magic recipe that allowed this to sit nicely. So now that I know that for sure and I got this on camera, I'm going to tighten this down again, throw on the camber adjustment piece, and try to fit this shock up and see what happens. All right, guys, I'm out of time for now, but this is where we'll leave it. Things are anchored down, and I can see just from kind of experimenting down below that test fitting will be possible. So I try to adjust these kind of to the length of these is going to be, you know, a range to work with, obviously, but trying to get it close to stock height to start out. So we'll play around with that more later, but yeah, I'll have to figure out the whole spring perch setup and yeah, just go from there. But I'm relieved to be at this point. I was a little nervous actually leaving the other day, being like so in the middle of something and then just not being able to finish where I wanted to. So I'm glad to have it where it's at right now. It's a long way to go still, but I don't have to like be thinking bad thoughts going to sleep of, did I mess something up? I think we're in the clear right now. Fingers crossed, not in the clear, but gotten past a big hurdle of making these fit and, you know, solidifying that piece at least. So onward we move. I'll check back with you guys next time I get to come over and work on this. Y'all remember Mark? Insert clip of high Mark right here. We're working on Hondas today, guys.
Honda Civic fam.
Little break from
Honda
the coilover
Civic.
video. My son's also helping us.
Maze is killing it.
Anyways, this is a short interlude. Back to schedule programming. Thermostat change done. Alright guys, it's been about a week for me, but a few seconds for you guys. We are back to it with a C55. Right now, I'm pulling out the camber plate that we had installed so I can measure each one of these kind of different sizes so that I can give them to the Kangaroos team so that they can supply the proper size, you know, bushing spacers with the kit, and you don't have to try to finagle with this. So we have one setup that has a bigger washer and one of the collar rings. We have one that is collar ring and a small spacer. And then the only other variation is one that has just the collar ring, which I actually found today at McClendon's. Got a ton of stuff in here. I found these as just bushings. So I found a bunch of different sizes of these. Let's see if I can find one that is close. So I gotta see like how close these are, because I might be able to replicate this based off of the sizing without having to use like multiple pieces on each spot. So I got some different sizes of these. I'm gonna measure out right now and see what I get. So far, the big washer and the collaring on this one is 9.9 millimeters. The spacer or collar and the small washer is 9.5. And then the collar alone is about 8 millimeters. All right, update. We've been working and have the passenger side coilover mounted. All the bolts down here are tight. Sway bar end link did not put tight yet because this is still loose. We have to determine like how high everything is sitting once you get the other side done. But this is all up here nicely now. Everything's tightened down. I'm gonna switch these out for the nylon nuts, but just there for now. So that's what it looks like. All right guys, it's about 10 o'clock. It's the end of my work time for now. It's actually my birthday tomorrow, so I think I'll ask my wife to let me come over here tomorrow night and finish the side for my birthday present. But yeah, I'm kind of in shock, like surreal to be at this point. No idea of knowing like what the exact camber spec is at right now or anything. So it's just gonna come in time once we got both sides done and I can throw the wheels on, lower the car, and go through that whole process. You guys know how it goes. If you've ever done coilovers, it's a time consuming thing trying to dial in the ride height and all that. Then not even considering like camber and caster and all those other things. So it's still to be determined depending on, you know, how even we got this or how close to the factory spot that we got this. It does look pretty even to me, just eyeballing like between fenders as far as caster goes. But if it's off enough, then we'll need to do some caster bolts on the backside, or get the caster arms from like maybe Camber King, or we can get the K-Mac bushing. So we'll have to see how to do that. But I do actually have the camber arms from the Camber King that I could throw on here, but I'm not really worried about that yet. I more so want to dial in everything else, and then we can go from there and see what else we need. But yeah, one side is done. History books for the W203s. Other people have tried this, but and done it, but not, you know, exactly to this degree. So yep, summer is quickly coming to a close, but still got a lot to do before it's over. So yeah, just gonna take it one step at a time. I have a big day coming up on Saturday that you guys will catch up on later in the future. being featured on another channel. So want to get this thing ready in time so that they can enjoy it as I have when they're here filming. So yep, see you guys tomorrow, hopefully. All right guys, we are back. It's time to go for the driver's side. Working on a late night again today, but that's okay. We're gonna try to get as much done as possible. It's Thursday, have something important to do on Saturday that I really want to have the car for. So fingers crossed we can get this done in the next 2 days, get it on the ground, get it somewhat eyeball dialed and it feels okay on the road. Or even better, if I can get it done in time, I can take it over to Hankook of Linwood and my guy Jay up there that will hook it up with the alignment. So we'll see. But I think I'm gonna time lapse you guys for most of this side, since I've kind of talked you guys through on this side. I'll kind of show you the process now of what it looks like, cutting everything out and doing all the things we're gonna need to do. So here's what it looks like now, and basic principles again. Last time we drilled from the top all of these, which we discovered later you don't have to. We can drill from the bottom. So I guess we'll see what's easier. It might just be easier to drill from the top again, we'll see. And then we need to cut all of this out from here. So we'll start by drilling these spot welds out, and then yeah, cut these little tabs off, saw this off. We'll end up grounding this somewhere else and should be good. Alright, so we're sawing off the little ground cable connection right here. Mike just tapped all the spots that we're gonna drill out for the spot welds. We're just gonna go from the top again. It's just easier. If anything, I can weld them in later, just like the other side, but it'll make it faster right now. So I'll put you guys on time lapse so you can see. Mike will be kind of on the drill, be vacuuming, and yep. All right, driver's side cup is out. Now next thing we gotta do is cut this little inner circle out. So there's the other cup. All right guys, well, I kind of lied because we just got, well, I just got kind of caught up into working and turned into a late night, but we have the other side done. Well, at least the camber plate's done. Came out pretty good. It's pretty even with this side for pretty much eyeball science, so I'm happy with it. The angle is very similar. This is matching up to the edge point almost exactly as the other side. So same bushings that I used on the other side worked exactly perfect for this side too. So I feel like I figured out a good math for that, and I passed those measurements along to the Kangaroos team, so they'll be able to help you guys out supplying the kits and everything. Ground cable, I just attached it to you can put it on either one of these. So I just put it on this one. Used to be right here. Yeah, it's looking good. I am tired, otherwise I would try to push through. If I didn't have work tomorrow, I'd probably push through and try to at least get the shock mounted up right now, but I'm beat and I gotta wake up early tomorrow morning for work. So I will catch you guys mañana and hopefully get this thing dialed as we can and on the ground. Honestly, I'm gonna finish the fronts, get it on the ground, and then I'll drive it and see how it feels. I'm not even gonna worry about the rears for the time being, because I mean, those are relatively plug and play since we're not doing any modifications out in the rear. So, yep. Another late night in the books, but all in the name of progress. That's how it goes. There's been many of these in my life, and in my life in particular, working on the cars, there's been many of these late nights. So I'm used to it, but on a work night, I gotta know when to cap it off. So yeah, buenas noches. I'll see you guys tomorrow. All right, you guys, I am back. I got my magic wand, and I'm hoping that we can get this thing on the ground today. Let me show you what this is actually gonna be for. So one of my go-to methods or ideas that I've used to measure coilovers is just a simple stick, or you could use a screwdriver, I guess, too, but something where you can basically, more so for the bottom, measure the distance of the kind of depth of the strut itself. So if I can show you guys, let me put this on flat. So if you see the bottom of the strut right there, all right, let me get a better view for you guys. So there's the bottom of the strut, and what I was saying is you can just put this in, mark your edge there at the bottom of the strut base, and that way you don't have to mess around with like trying to figure out a perfect measurement of the threads that are exposed or anything like that, because we're gonna have to adjust this. This is just, you know, a placeholder measurement right now. So we'll need to, you know, try to match both sides and go from there, but it's gonna be trial and error. Like I said, we'll see how close we get the first time down, but yeah. What I need to do right now is put together the driver's side shock and assemble all the pieces. So I will let you guys see that process. I'll time lapse it. I'm not even gonna worry about the rears. I think I've already said that in this video so far. Right now, especially because we got, you know, a video shoot tomorrow and I gotta get this thing done. Just need the front done right now, and then I can save the rears for later. And to be honest, the rears wouldn't really need to be changed right now if I didn't want to. They're newer KYB gas adjust struts, and the springs are still fine back there. But yeah, we'll be doing it, just not right now. You guys, we got the driver's side strut all assembled, or coilover all assembled. As you guys saw, a little camber piece is what we use to secure the top. And to get this started, you have to use an Allen and just an open wrench to get the threads kind of going. And then once you do that, you can impact it on, but you kind of have to hold tight on the cylinder in here to keep it from spinning while you're doing so. And yeah, you guys saw me measuring with our little stick method, which is right here. This top measurement was for the top nut. So you can see that lines up pretty even on that one. And then the bottom line on here, or yeah, bottom line on the stick was for the space at the bottom of the strut, which will probably be changing, but at least we know they're even right now as we're putting them in. So I will leave these two collars loose until we get it kind of situated a little further, but for now I think we are ready to try to throw it in. All right guys, driver's side is in. I was doing that alone, so it's a little bit of a fiasco with the jack and whatnot, but the thing I'm gonna do right now is adjust the dampening. From reading the manual, there's 33 clicks on these, and basically to start out they say go to 12 clicks on the front. So let's see how this works. Okay, those are clicks. All right, let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Is that 4? 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right. So that's it for that side. And let's do it for the passenger. Okay, it's all the way at 0. The first one is kind of hard to tell if it's a click or not. Okay, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. I think we were right on that one. Let's go back to 0. Let's double check. Okay. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right. Dampening set for now. We can always adjust it, but we'll just start on the standard settings. Now, I have no idea if this is like absolutely slammed right now or if it's where it would be stock. And I also don't know how much these shocks are gonna compress once it's on the ground. So the only real way, I guess, to test fit it is to drop it on the ground, and it's gonna be, you know, a couple times back and forth. Maybe we'll get lucky, maybe 2 tries. I feel like we should be able to get pretty accurate after the first settle. So I do have the end links on. Right now, but they're not tightened down at all because, again, I don't really know exactly where they're supposed to be adjusted. And I also don't know where the sway bar was sitting before. So I'll need to play around for sure. All right, guys, well, it's moment of truth time to lower it, see exactly where we sit. I feel like with the wheel gap where it's at right now hanging, I don't know, maybe we'll get lucky, but I'm not too hopeful. We'll see how much it compresses, and then if I gotta adjust it, I'm gonna have to come back tomorrow morning before we do the video shoot because I'm running out of time right now. So we'll see what happens. All right, guys, well, luckily for the first run, we're in a safe position. We can obviously go lower. Forgot to tighten one of the sway bar end links on this side. So I was pressing on this side, I was hearing something move, but I forgot I didn't tighten the upper one, so I'll have to do that, pull the wheel off. And honestly, camber is like maybe negative like 1.5 degrees. So what I plan to do, I can actually move this all the way over to the end. I just need to put these Allens at the same spot, or sorry, not the same spot, but in the middle hole with this one, and it allows this to slide all the way to the end here. So I'm gonna do that. I'll slot the washers so that they can sit next to each other, or just, you know, shave off the sides of them. Or I can just find like one big washer and drill 2 holes in it to let them sit side by side. So yeah, I'm happy for just freestyling it right now. I want function over form, so I'm not trying to go super low. I mean, obviously I can go a little bit lower than this if I want to, but I'll have to ride it around and let it settle before I decide to do something like that. But yeah, only thing I really need to do right now, take off the wheel, tighten up that sway bar end link, and then actually I don't even need to take off the wheel, I'll just jack it up. And then figure out how to slide these over all the way tomorrow, and we should be good to go. I'll start buttoning it up tomorrow morning. I'll probably come over here early, or you know, a couple hours before we do the shoot, and get it all tidied up. I'm pumped. I am like, I'm kind of shaky right now, like excited that we have this done. This was a very scary undertaking because, as you guys can imagine, cutting out your strut towers is, yeah, on a rare car like this, it's pretty nerve-wracking. So we just really took our time and tried to make sure we did it right, and I'm really happy how it turned out. It's almost dead even, like side to side, and this is just basically our eyeball science. So you guys can see there, you know, slight measurements, but nothing too crazy. It was just really hard to measure off of all the different angles and things of the strut tower. So we really did have to eyeball it and get it as square as we could, just off of manpower. So man, I'm thrilled to be at this point. What's going on, you guys? It's the end of this video and kind of the start of something else. As you can see, I'm mic'd up right now. Shout out to the Clutch Kick. We are on set, I guess technically, about to start filming the intro for the video that they're doing, a feature on kind of me and the channel and the cars. So I'll show you guys what I just finished up real fast so that I could be ready for the shoot. All right, so last thing I just did right now is I notched the washers on the Allen keys that hold the shock tower, or the camber plate, I guess, so that I could slide these pretty much all the way over and increase the camber by who knows how much. But they want the car left up right now, so once it's down on the ground, I'll show you guys what it looks like. But yeah, we're officially kind of, fingers crossed, in the testing stages now to dial these things in all the way. So I'll keep you guys updated, but can't really video now since they're here, so I'll check back in later. Here's the first look at the camber adjustment. It's like maybe 2 degrees, 2.5 degrees maybe. First test drive coming up. All right, you guys, we just got back from the maiden voyage of the drive. You'll see footage of that on Clutch Kick's video on the car. But yeah, everything's holding up well. I'm not hearing any crazy sounds or anything like that. Coilovers have stayed put where I had them set, which is basically full lock. And yeah, it rides really well, especially not being aligned or anything after doing this. It's probably pretty significant kind of a geometry change, I would assume, for the overall front end. So yeah, all things considered, it's doing well, but I'll update you guys as we push forward. All right, guys, I'll get you a little bit of footage as we're doing this whole process right now.